Put your cock away. We're making a podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheap Smut. My name is Katie Mizell.
And my name is Carl Mizell.
And this is a podcast that is not for the faint of heart.
No, especially this week's episode, if your hints are to be believed.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you would lie.
I'm not very good at it, so.
No, you're terrible at it.
I am. I'm a terrible liar, which is great for you.
It's great, yeah. And I just am like physically incapable of doing it. So, how are you?
I am good, thank you. I am quite well. Survived a week without you here.
Yeah.
You went on the road for work. I went and stayed with my mom, which is kind of great because I love my mom and I like to hang out with her. But I'm really glad you're home because it's way easier to parent the two little ones when I'm not by myself.
Oh, absolutely.
They gang up on me.
Yeah. No, I understand. I've been with them. I know our children. I get it. Yeah. No, I was down in southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, just bouncing around. Real beautiful down there.
Yeah.
It's just a lovely part of the country. Yeah. So it was nice to be down there and visit and see some clients, and it was a good time. But now it's Friday night.
Hell yeah.
It's time to make a smutty podcast.
Yes.
And this week, the source of our smut is
Ensnared by Tiffany Roberts, the first in the Spider's Mate trilogy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Now, is it... I've heard you say Tiffany Robert in the past.
It's Roberts. I wasn't sure. I wasn't clear, but it is Tiffany Roberts. Tiffany Roberts, I know I've mentioned on the show before, is the pen name for a husband and wife couple named Tiffany and Robert, who write together. And they've written a ton of stuff. They have a huge catalog, and their stuff is great. This is the first Tiffany Roberts book I've ever read. It was really, really good. So add them to your list of people to read. They're great.
Well, okay then. With that, let's just not muck around and let's get right into it.
Absolutely. Okay, so Ensnared by Tiffany Roberts is available for $4.99 or through Kindle Unlimited, which is how I got it. You can also get it in print. I have seen the book in print. I know it exists somewhere. It is an incredibly slow burn, erotic, alien romance novel. Okay. And it's really very good. And it has a very unique alien in it. I enjoyed him very much.
Not our first aliens.
No, not our first aliens. We already did some Ice Planet Barbarians.
Yes.
But this book is less like Ice Planet Barbarians and more like A Soul to Keep.
Okay.
It's more monster fucker, less alien fucker. But they are technically on another planet. So.
All right. Well, then, what are our content warnings for this week?
Content warnings this week are arachnophobia, sexual content, non-human anatomy or creative anatomy, dubious consent, sexual assault, PTSD, light bondage, violence, death, gore, blood, reference to parental neglect, abandonment, and exploitative past romantic relationships.
All I heard is weird dick.
Weird dicks. There will be a weird dick. It's not... there will be a weird dick. Let's just...
what
prepare
was the term?
thyself.
Creative
anatomy.
Creative anatomy.
Yeah.
Creative anatomy alert.
Yeah. It's, I guess, I think it's a term I heard on TikTok for
weird dick.
Monster fuckers, weird dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear how weird this dick is.
It's not the weirdest, but it's definitely creative.
Okay.
So let's get into it. Our MMC this week, his name is Ketahn. His full name is Ketahn Tess Ishuniani Ir Okari.
Was he a settler of this planet?
No.
Okay.
He is a member of the Vrix, which is an anthropomorphic alien spider race.
How did Vrix?
Vrix.
Vrix. Okay.
V-R-I-X.
Just like it sounds. Okay.
Yes. He is described as being approximately 7 feet tall, sort of like a spider centaur.
So sort of like Quelaag in Dark Souls.
Like Quelaag in Dark Souls, okay. Yes. Our FMC later in the book can ride him like a horse. Like on his back, she can ride him around. Yeah, well, that too. So he has like a large back, large butt, spider butt.
He's got spider cake.
Yeah, he has spider cake. So they are not quite spiders because they don't have 8 legs. He has 6 legs and 4 arms.
Okay.
8 glowing purple eyes, a pair of mandibles around his mouth, like big fanged mandibles, and a large crest on top of his head that's sort of like a plate. Black silken hair with white and purple streaks, and purple bioluminescent markings on his back and all of his joints. I have a picture of him from fan art if you would like a better idea of what he looks like.
I would love that.
That's Ketahn.
Yeah. It's very reminiscent. This is I should clarify. This is not technically my first spider fucker book.
Really?
Saga, the comic book.
Yeah.
The Will.
Oh yeah.
His
ex-girlfriend, the Stalk. Yeah, she's a big spider lady.
Yep.
I remember her.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So it's not your first time reading spider porn.
No, it's not. But it is the first time that the spider had the outie and not not the innie. But yeah, I just had to double check. I was like, I think because all the assassins have their names are the something, the Brand, the Stalk, the Will. Yeah. I couldn't remember what her name was. So yeah, all right. So I'm all right. Let's see what you've learned. Teach me something about spider fucking.
Oh right, I will. I absolutely will. But not for a long time because, like I said, this is a slow burn. There's a lot of story before we get to the fucking.
All right, that's fine.
But anyway, so Ketahn is a hunter of the Vrix of Tak'Aral. Tak'Aral is the name of his home colony. It's an underground series of caverns connected by like bridges made out of webbing. On it's like a big circle in the middle, and it's surrounded by a bunch of other smaller circles. They live in a socialist society. Everyone contributes to the colony, and then they have a queen, and the queen and her claw and her fang, her hunters and her soldiers, keep and distribute everything as needed throughout the colony. So like later in the book, Ketahn goes back to his home cave, the cave where he was born, but it's not his. It's like was given to them when his mom had a brood, basically.
Wow. Must have been the favorite.
Yeah.
So they don't have just like 2.
Yeah, he has
800 siblings.
I don't know how many siblings. He only has a sister in the book.
Okay.
But I don't know how many other broodkin he had because there was a war and a lot of Vrix died. But we'll get to that. Okay, so Ketahn does not live in Tak'Aral. Ketahn lives above ground in the perpetually shaded and very dangerous jungle called the Tangle. That's where he hunts. He lives up there. He has a den up there, but he also goes out every day and hunts and brings meat back to Tak'Aral for the group. But he is in Tak'Aral on this day, because it is Offering Day, which is a monthly occurrence where every Vrix brings an offering for the 8. The 8 are their spiritual icons, basically 8 individual spiritual icons who represent the most important things about the Vrix. So the Broodmother and the Rootmaster and the Delver and the Hunter and the Weaver. Everything that's important to the Vrix. And when you bring that offering, you are also bringing an offering directly to the queen. The queen in this book, her name is Zervashi, aka Queen Zervashi Teska'alaani Ukari, Queen of Tak'Aral and Guardian of the Ancestral Crystals. She's got a big long title.
That's easy for you to say.
Right? And Ketahn fucking hates her. He hates her. And I hate her too. Let's just get that out of the way right now. She can fucking kick rocks.
Okay. And if she hates her, I hate her too.
Yeah. Fuck you, Zervashi. You're awful. He has come because he has to be there. He has to make his offering as demanded by the queen. But he has brought an offering that's meant as a backhanded insult to her. And he
brought her breath mints.
He brought her a root called Mender root, which she uses for dyes to dye her silks the specific color that she wants. But the reason it's a backhanded compliment is because she went to war with another colony over this root, and half of her colony was destroyed in the process of serving her own vanity. Tak'Aral is suffering under Zervashi's rule. Half of the colony is starving. A lot of people a lot of Vrix are dying. She is constantly clad from head to toe in gold and gemstones and fine silks, while most of her Vricks are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck her.
Noted.
We don't do corrupt government, not even on alien planets. I do not agree.
Well, with all those arms, those extra arms, he could build a really nice guillotine.
He could build a super great guillotine, but he wouldn't know how.
That's fair.
Because he's a weaver.
Yeah.
Or he was a weaver before he was a hunter. He wasn't a builder. Anyway, so he takes his offering to Zervashi, and she is gross and rapey. She wants Ketahn to mate her and father her brood.
Mm-hmm.
And he won't do it because he hates her. But she offers him outright the position of head claw, which is the hunters.
Mm-hmm.
The males are all the male hunters are called the claw. And he refuses because he is a lone wolf spider. Lone wolf spider.
Spider wolf.
Um,
lone wolf spider.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so she approaches him, and because they are spiders, the females are significantly larger than the males. So Ketahn is 7 feet tall. Zervashi is like 10 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And when she stands in front of him, her crotch area is like directly in front of his face. And she uses her pheromones to control the males around her. So she like starts laying on the pheromone charm basically. And he's standing there like a statue, just rigid as can be, because he can't allow himself to move, even though he is having like a chemical reaction. He's getting aroused from this, but he doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
And she is using this to her advantage in a way that is gross and creepy. But eventually she does tell him, get the fuck out of here, go back to the tangle. I expect to see you here next month for next offering day.
Mm-hmm.
So he leaves, and he starts climbing up into the tangle and contemplating everything that is wrong with Takaral because of Zervashi. He believes that the 8 have abandoned Takaral because Zervashi murdered the rightful queen 16 years ago. On his way out, another female Vrix makes a play for the throne, tries to attack Zervashi, and it goes very poorly. She survives about 7 seconds before Zervashi rips her throat out. It's an ugly, nasty fight.
So anybody can just have like instant trial by combat.
Yes. That's how Zervashi did it. She just attacked the previous queen and killed her. That's just how they do it there, apparently.
All right.
Remember, this is science fiction now. We're in a weird world.
It's efficient is what
it is. It is incredibly efficient, yes. So once he gets back up to the surface, he starts going on his next hunt. And while he's in a tree trying to take out some kind of animal, a bunch of other animals climb onto the same branch that he's on. And the branch can't hold the weight, so it snaps and he falls into this pit that's right in the middle of the tangle that the Vrix consider like a sacred place or a haunted place. I can't really tell exactly what it is. They believe that the 8 trapped a great beast below the ground there, and everybody finds it kind of spooky, so they don't go near it. He falls through whatever like growth is on top of it and into the pit. He manages to catch himself with like a spear on a string, so that he doesn't just smush when he gets to the bottom. And when he gets down there, what he finds is something that he cannot understand. And I love shit like this in books like this, where a more primitive species finds something that's way more advanced and they have to try and figure it out, but they only have their own language to do it in. So what he has found is a spaceship, or part of a spaceship, that's been destroyed and buried underground and is slowly returning to the Earth. Not the Earth, this isn't Earth, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, above ground.
Yeah. No, it's like being destroyed. Like
it's returning to the Earth?
Okay.
Or to the soil.
Yeah, it's returning to the soil.
Gotcha.
So every flooding season, he can tell it's been flooded with water because it's all moldy and there's puddles everywhere and there's vines growing over everything and it's all dirty and nasty. But he walks through it because he's fascinated by it. He doesn't understand what any of it is, and it's all super fucking weird. He thinks that this is a place that is full of spirits. And he finally, through some like creative button pushing, just like creative touching of stuff, trying to figure out what's going on, opens a door that has been sealed, and inside is a clean space. that hasn't been taken by nature yet. And he finds what he calls cocoons. And looking inside, he finds creatures that he's never seen before and he can't explain. But in the 8th pod, which he thinks is a sign because 8 is the base number of the Vrix, or the sacred number of the Vrix, he finds what the computer starts talking to him and tells him it is colonist 210 Ivy Foster. Except that he doesn't understand those words because he doesn't speak English. But I do love, there's a trope that happens in books like this where they're like all the words are spelled wrong, to indicate that he doesn't understand what they are, but we can read them. I love that shit.
It's very clever to do that in print.
Yes,
it's a really good way to indicate miscommunication.
Yeah, I love it.
Or
I love
difficult
it.
communication.
So he opens that pod and he takes her out. And he decides that he's going to keep her as a pet. He has no idea what this creature is. He just thinks it's like a random animal and it's kind of weird. And he thinks mostly ugly looking, but he's still going to keep it. And he's sort of fascinated by how fleshy it is because they have, like, the Vrix have armored exteriors. They have exoskeletons. And she's all fleshy and soft. And she has mounds on her chest.
I bet she does.
Yeah. And like, he's fascinated with her lips because they don't have lips. He thinks they look like grubs on her face. And the fact that her face moves because his face does not move at all. And that she only has 2 eyes. And she has this weird nub sticking out of the middle of her face because he doesn't have a nose. So he has no fucking clue what a nose is. It's fascinating, like watching him look at her and be like, it's so ugly. I love it.
It's like Cassie and Ant-Man.
Exactly. So he decides that because she was in the 8th pod, this is a sign and she is a gift from the 8, so he's going to keep her. So he carries her out of the vessel before she's actually woken up and carries her back out of the pit, not really realizing that he has left 7 other colonists behind.
That's the book I want to.
He has no fucking idea.
It'd be a real short book.
It would. So he can make his own webbing.
Okay.
So he makes a rope and like lashes her to him so that he can use all 10 of his appendages to climb back out of this pit. And he decides when he gets to the top that he is going to name his new pet 8. Which is cute and adorable. I made a note here because I wanted to remember this because I thought it was funny. At one point in this chapter, there is a typo where Ketahn is accidentally spelled Kethan. Kethan, like Keith and Ethan put together. I thought that was funny. Kethan. So he starts to carry her through the forest. Mostly he travels in the trees. He never really stays on the ground for very long. Why would he? He's a spider. While he is trying to avoid being noticed by like a large predator that he can sense is nearby, she wakes up and starts screaming. And initially he like covers her mouth and is like, shh, be quiet, we can't. And she's freaking out. And then he realizes that her scream is terrifying
to everything.
So he just lets her go. Some creative problem solving. He just lets her scream until this thing runs away. Like he turns her in that direction, like scream over there.
Keep doing that. It finds your screams repellent.
Exactly. So after the predator, whatever it was, runs away, now he's got a freaked out little thing on his hands and he doesn't know what to do with it, but he now realizes that it can speak. He's pretty sure it's female. He's not 100%, but it looks more female in form. And while he does not know what she is, he knows that she is likely sentient because she can talk. And but he shouldn't necessarily trust her because she might be a very deceptive predator. But he is going to keep her. She is his. He has decided this. She's his now. And he's going to keep her.
You're
but
on
at this point,
my planet now.
No, he thinks of her like a pet.
Yeah.
at this point. He's like, this is my ugly little fleshy thing. Isn't she cute? Her name's 8. I love her. You know,
you guys
like
want
a cat
one?
you found in a dumpster.
There's 7 more back there if you guys want one.
So he takes her to his den, and his den is a dwelling that he has made himself. It's a large oval nest that is suspended in the trees by a shit ton of webs. He climbs up it like a fucking spider. Like, what the fuck? Oh my God. I can't. Every once in a while, I'm reminded that this guy is a fucking spider, and I have to re-gird myself every time. So he holds her with like one hand and uses the other 3 to get, and all 6 of his legs to get up into his web. Like at one point he's upside down on the web and she's like, I'm gonna die, this is a dream, I'm gonna die. I
had the same dream this morning. It was so weird.
He can't understand what she's saying, obviously, but she is chanting, please don't eat me, over and over, because this guy's terrifying. Like, he's got a mouthful of fangs. He's a giant spider.
Yeah.
She thinks she's getting eaten.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of visual clues.
Oh, yeah.
She's being dragged into a giant, like...
nest.
Giant web nest by a creature who clearly built this himself with his own butt silk. Like...
butt silk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I would do the same thing.
Yeah. So... we flip to Ivy's point of view at this point in the book. Ivy is colonist 201 or 210, I can't remember, on the Somnium, which is one of the first human colony ships heading to a planet called Zolea. Ivy went through a lot of testing and rigorous training to get on this ship. She was escaping Earth for a new life. She hopes that she is having a nightmare inside of her cryo chamber and she's going to wake up on Zolea and this is all going to have been absolutely nothing. But she tries like pinching herself and pulling her own hair and she's not waking up. So fuck, this might be real. She takes a second to like really look at Ketahn, and she determines that he is terrifying, yes, but he's also kind of beautiful and interesting to look at, and he's definitely sentient. So she thinks that she can probably communicate with him. She reaches a hand out to him to tell him to like stay away, and he puts his hand on her hand, Tarzan style, and she thinks this means he probably isn't going to hurt her. They exchange names. Ivy, and he keeps calling her Vel. He keeps calling her 8. Just Ivy, Ketahn. So they get through all of that, and she's pretty sure at this point that he's not going to kill her. So she takes a moment to sort of look around the den, which is well appointed, and it's full of things like sleeping furs once again, and like there's a big blue crystal in the middle of the room that they cover with a piece of silk to make it dark, but the crystal is bioluminescent. It glows at night, so they always have light. And he's got all kinds of shit in here. They're very advanced for a primitive race. Yeah. They don't have technology, but they have everything else.
But he also collects thimbles. It's really weird.
Don't need thimbles. You got armor for skin.
It's just something weird that he found, and he just keeps collecting.
Oh, I guess.
Those weird grandma spoons.
Grandma spoons.
You remember those?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. My grandma didn't collect spoons, but I know. I know the spoon collecting grandmas exist.
Yeah.
Once she determines that she is with someone who is of an advanced but primitive race, who is not going to kill her, she thinks, she basically passes out in the corner. She's very tired. She's all out of whack. The computer did tell Ketahn to expect her to have some, to be like confused and tired and slow to understand things for a while. But of course, Ketahn didn't understand a word the computer said. Ketahn thinks that he was being spoken to by spirits.
Do you understand?
A disembodied voice.
Nope.
The next morning, Ivy and Ketahn take more time to learn each other's languages, but there is some anatomical differences that mean that they can't say all of each other's words right. Ketahn speaks with a lot of like weird hisses and clicks and chittering noises that Ivy cannot recreate.
Literally cannot make.
Eventually, he does learn to speak English, and she learns to understand his language, but she can't speak it. So they stick with English because he can make most of the sounds approximately right. He has trouble with anything involving lips because he doesn't have lips.
So he has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
His plosives aren't
all
really
of his
there.
plosives are fucked. Exactly. Eventually, Ivy is able to ask Ketahn if he is planning on eating her. And he is appalled. He is like, no, I would never.
What do I look like? Some sort of
He's
monster?
like, Ketahn, no, eat Ivy. No. So then she indicates to him that she is very hungry. So he goes out to hunt. And Ivy takes the opportunity to peek outside of the nest and finds herself suspended in a giant spider's web in the canopy above an oddly beautiful alien forest. But she says it looks like it could be the rainforest. Like everything's gigantic and like really lush and beautiful and green. There's a lot of bioluminescence in this place as well, which makes it really cool at night. Except that all of the sounds that she hears are alien. A lot of the animals don't make sounds that you would hear on Earth.
Not hearing those cicadas.
Yeah, no, definitely not. There's no just like gentle bird song. I don't fucking know what sounds they make, but it's...
What is that?
While he's out foraging, Ketahn runs into a fellow hunter named Telok, who tells him that while the hunting bounties have been great, the tunnel that he lives in, Moonfall Tunnel, is starving because they deliver their meat to the queen's like bean counters every month, and it doesn't make it out to the people. So she's hoarding food.
Yeah.
And Ketahn sort of gives him the idea that maybe what they should do is like dig into Moonfall from somewhere else and start sneaking meat into the tunnels so that people don't die in a sort of, a redistribution effort, if you will. After he's done with that conversation, he returns to his nest. And Ivy has a spear that she found in the nest, and she's terrified, so she like holds it to his neck as soon as he gets into the nest, and he does not react well. So when he gets afraid, he rears back on his two back pairs of legs and raises his front pair in the air and raises both sets of arms in the air, and he hisses and like screams. So he makes himself as big as possible.
And you're recreating
I
it
am.
right now, and it's working. It's actually pretty intimidating.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do that Rebecca Welton thing where I try to make my face.
Good job. I peed a little.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad. He doesn't register that this is Ivy until he has her like pinned against a wall and she's crying, and he doesn't understand what crying is because his people don't cry. So he starts to lick her face.
Imagine a creature that has never seen a human being crying. Like, imagine what that would have to be like.
Yeah. He's like, there's water coming out of her eyes. I have no idea.
I'd step on her. Ew, stop that. Ugh, gross. Do you guys see that? Ugh, normally I just, I catch and release. I throw them back out there, but gross. Now it's on my foot.
Ew. No. Anyway, so he's like licking the tears off of her face and is weirdly horny about it. He gets into like
yeah. You didn't have to say weirdly. I did. That was pretty implied.
No, I did. I had to say it out loud. I needed everybody to know how weird I thought this was. He enters what he calls a near mating frenzy. Like, he gets really into it. He like starts rubbing his like crotch on her. His dick is internal. It's like Orpheus's. It's not always out. From Assault to Keith.
Yeah.
So he's like rubbing his like bulge on her.
His cock pouch
on her, and then but he stops himself because he looks down at her and he realizes that she's terrified. And also that she is not Vrix, and this is very wrong to him. They aren't the same species.
They clearly have a very different understanding of consent.
Yeah, they do. Like I said, dubious consent for a little while in the beginning of this. For her part, she just thinks she was going to get eaten. she just thought he finally got it.
Well, he doesn't have lips, so it'd have been weird. But,
yeah.
Oh, you mean like consumed?
Yeah.
Oh.
Eaten.
Yeah.
Silly boy. So after all of that, they calm down. He tries to offer her grubs as food, and she's like, no. And then the rest of this chapter is Ivy trying various foraged foods, mostly fruits and mushrooms and things. And she finds a few things that she really likes. And there's like cute, like getting to know you sharing of food stuff that happens after that. And it's a very nice little scene.
They do a Lady and the Tramp thing with a snake.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
They don't eat snakes, I don't think.
It was worth a try.
It was. Yeah. No, they eat a lot of like, there's a fruit that's sort of like a pomegranate and mushrooms that somehow taste like desserts. And
Wow.
yeah, like sweet mushrooms and all kinds of weird stuff, but mostly fruits and nuts and berries and things.
All right.
A couple of nights later, Ivy has a nightmare, which opens us up to Ivy's backstory, which is given in little fits and starts throughout the book, but I'm just going to give it to you all at once. So Ivy was raised by not absent, but certainly not present parents, like neglectful parents who... Like she had a brother who was 14 years older than her, and she was sort of an oopsie, and they like just didn't want to deal with it, but they had to. They were very religious, upper middle class white people.
Okay, painting a very vivid picture. She,
when she was 17 years old, dropped out of high school because she was groomed by an older man who said that he loved her. And then eventually she moved in with him. And then when they finally had sex, because they were waiting until she was 18, he basically assaulted her and live streamed it.
Oof.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking awful. And then when she went back to her parents, they disowned her because she had made she had shamed the family because the internet was forever and everybody knew what had happened, and so she was homeless for the next several years before she joined the colonist program. So there's Ivy's backstory. It's awful.
Yeah.
For real. But she's not on Earth anymore.
No, clearly.
And she has no idea how long she's been there, but she knows for a fact that most if not all of the people who have ever hurt her are dead. So
do we ever get any clarity on like what year this is supposed to be? How long she's okay?
Yeah, but it's at the very, very end of the book.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you eventually. Yeah. So she wakes up and after this nightmare, and she is desperate to pee. So she tells Ketahn she has to go pee, but he refuses to take her outside. And the rest of the scene, yes, was like a puppy arguing with its owner. She was demanding to go outside, and he was like, no, go back to sleep. No, go back to sleep. And she kept pointing out the door and saying she had to go potty.
All right, I'm going to piss on this sleeping fur then.
Yep. She loses control of her bladder and pisses on a rug.
Yep.
So then he's like, God damn it, fucking get out of bed. It's 2 a.m. morning. Takes her down to a warm stream with the rug and dunks her in the water to wash her because she's covered in pee. And he's all like angry and pissed off about it, but it was like you would be at your puppy. And it was like, what the fuck is going on? What are the relationship dynamics here? This seems like,
well, at least he didn't rub her nose in it.
Right. The extreme power dynamic of like him being so much more capable and powerful and bigger than her and thinking of her a bit like a pet, and then knowing eventually these people are going to have sex was like, okay, you better do some real fancy footwork.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm not going to be comfortable with this.
Can't wait to see how you make this not icky.
Yeah. So they argue pretty well for people who do not speak each other's languages that well yet. And when Ivy gets out of the water after she's been dunked underwater a couple of times, Ketahn is entranced with her body. And this is pause for extreme dubcon warning at this point. It's not. I was like, what? No. That's not. This is not okay.
What is dubcon?
Dubious consent. Dubcon.
Okay. Thank you.
So he follows her out of the water to examine and explore her body, and he starts playing with her boobs and like flicking her nipples and stuff. And she is really turned on by this, but also very, very confused.
Yeah.
And can you guess what happens next, Carl, when she gets turned on?
It's like pheromones for Ketahn.
Mm-hmm. He can smell it.
Yep.
He can fucking smell it.
Yeah.
I went weeks without having to read about fucking arousal smelling, and I'm back in the shit.
Well, it's if it's not cartoonishly large penises, it's you smelling horny.
This book has both.
Well, yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm so upset.
At least a cartoonishly large penis makes sense on a giant
spider. Yeah,
alien spider.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense on a 6-foot human male.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean.
I do. At least because he's 7 feet tall and gigantic, that having a giant dick kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just a normal human male with 4 Coke cans swinging, kind of thing.
So he can smell it, and so he lowers himself down to her crotch level. All he has to do is bend his legs, and he just goes further down.
He's really great at that, like pretending to be an elevator.
A lot of their socialization, a lot of their communication is based on like putting yourself up higher or down lower than another Vrix, depending on like. And then when they bow, they like put their torsos on the ground by just like bending down. It's
vaguely Japanese.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how the social interaction stuff was fleshed out by Tiffany and Robert. So he gets down to her pussy, lifts her legs like over his legs.
Okay.
Sets them wide apart, holds onto her butt with one pair of legs or one pair of arms, and then he just starts playing with her pussy. Okay. Just sort of petting it, exploring it.
Thing?
He's all like, it's all pink and pretty and it's got dew.
Yeah.
It's wet, and he finds her clitoris and he plays with that a little bit. He's like licking his fingers and stuff, and then eventually she's like, holy shit, no, stop that. And she clambers off of him, and he immediately stops. So I guess he understands it well enough.
But again, this is the second time we've had an alien who immediately, having never seen a clit, can find it.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah, true. It's not. But so for Ivy's part, he can't understand it. She's like over in the corner like, oh my God, I can't believe he almost made me come. He is a fucking spider. So she was into it too. But also all of this is very confusing for both of them. Yeah. She then starts like berating him, and he realizes that she is sentient in a way that he has no concept for. Like, the Vrix are the only creatures on this planet who have complex thought and emotions.
Okay.
And he has never considered that there would be anyone else who was not a Vrix who had just as complex set of emotions and thought.
Yeah, she's she's an alien.
She's an alien. But they have not conceived of aliens.
Yeah, they don't even have a word.
They have no word for it. He has no idea. So he internally scolds himself like, holy shit, you just non-consensually touched. Like, it started out, for him, it really did start out as just exploratory. Like, it's like how we sometimes like play with dog nipples or something. We're just like, look at these little nipples you got. They're so cute. But then he got actually horny when he smelled her, and then it got bad from there. And he's like, oh, I have to fucking learn to control myself. I have to learn to control myself. And I feel awful that I have done this to this creature who is just as sentient as I am. And I need to make this equal. So he grabs her hands and he puts them on his own chest. He's like, look, you can touch me too. It's totally fine. You can touch me too. Do whatever you want. So she goes on like a little exploratory, mostly in a in an intrigued kind of way. She's like, oh, look at all your teeth. Holy shit. What's going on with this? What are your like she touches his mandibles and like plays with his hair. And then she eventually does get down towards his slit, his crotch area. And he's like, I'm not ready for the ropes course. So he backs off. Like I can control myself, but don't touch the dick. Yeah. Don't touch the dick.
Got a mind of its own. It just jump right out at you.
Yeah. They finish up what they're doing. He teaches her how to wash. Like they have a plant that they use to wash things there called he calls it soap leaf, but
all right.
Yeah. 6 nights later, there is a thunderstorm. The whole fucking den is shaking. And Ivy is terrified of storms because she almost died in a tornado once when she was living in her car. So she wakes up, she's frightened. Ketahn pulls her in to snuggle, which is basically where she lays on his chest and he wraps every single one of his limbs around her.
No.
I have a little fan art.
No.
You don't want to see it?
No, I'll see it. I just no.
Except that she's facing toward him in this scene.
Still not great.
So yeah, he wraps all of his limbs around her, and this becomes like sort of intimate and then arousing for both of them, but they don't act on it. They're both too confused by all of it.
It makes 3 of us.
Yeah. Ivy has this internal freak out about her response to Ketahn. But she also does admit to herself, like, she's on a whole new planet and everyone and everything she ever knew or loved is gone. Like, there's...
I was going to say, it's like, shit, fuck going away to college to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, right? You can literally be anybody.
Yeah.
You're on a whole new planet.
Every dude on Earth treated you like garbage. Why not fuck a 7-foot-tall spider? Can't be any worse.
She has a whole lot of thoughts about all of this, but she doesn't act on it. But they do end up sleeping like this every single night. After that, they snuggle every night. A week later, Ivy and Ketahn are fishing. I loved this scene. So Ketahn is teaching Ivy how to survive in the tangle. Their communication is developing really well. Like I said, he speaks English because she can't speak his language. Physically, it's impossible. They're very sweet and playful together. They're developing a really nice friendship. He's teaching her how to spearfish in this scene. And eventually, his intention is that she will be as good of a hunter as he is. He doesn't want her to ever be unprotected. Mm-hmm. He'll always, it is his intention to always be there to protect her, but because of everything he's got going on with Zervashi, he can't guarantee that. So he's teaching her how to take care of herself.
Smart.
In the next scene, it has been a month, so it's now offering day again. Ketahn goes back underground to make his offering. He has a minor run-in with Prime Claw Durax, who is the head of the Queen's hunting force, and he is the pick-meest pick-me. He wants Zervashi so bad. All he wants is for Zervashi to pick him to be her mate, but she won't because she wants Ketahn. So his next plan then is to just kill or like destroy Katahn's reputation.
Yeah.
Or kill him. Like that's Durax's plan. Like if I get this guy out of the way, she'll finally notice me.
That's a big jump from plan A to plan B.
Seriously,
there,
right? Well, like originally his intention was to get him banished, but it didn't work. So like he's still just trying his best, but like he's just the pick-meest. Ugh, God. He's so gross. He's such a fucking simp for this horrible queen. But Ketahn doesn't do anything in this scene. He just wants to get back to Ivy. He's here to do his duty, and then he's going to go back home because he is worried about her. Just a couple of days prior, she almost died while trying new foraged foods. Like she spent several days clutching her abdomen and sweating because she ate something that nearly killed her.
Oh boy, got the trots on an alien planet.
Right? God damn it. Now you got diarrhea in fucking spider alien hell.
Diarrhea in space.
This sequence with Durax ultimately comes to nothing because Durax is a coward. He knows that he can't beat Ketahn in a fight, so he just backs off. Like he keeps threatening him, and Katahn's like, "Then do it,
right?
Then just do it. Shut up and do it already." And he's eventually like, "Go make your offering." God damn it, you fucking coward!
Come catch all 4 of these hands.
While he is headed to the offering temple, he just thinks about Ivy. He thinks about her for like 10 pages. He just thinks about her and how much he admires her and respects her because she's so brave and so strong for being this weak little fleshy human thing. He runs into his friends and they talk about the effort to bring meat into the tunnels secretly, but they think they're being discovered. Possibly, they're not sure yet. And Ketahn's like, well, you know what you have to do now? You have to tell other tunnels to start doing this too. He's basically becoming a revolutionary leader at the same time he's trying to hide his alien girlfriend.
He's got a lot on his plate.
He's got so much going on right now. So he goes, he makes his offering, and Zervashi's not in the offering room, so he's like, this is not good. He goes to leave, but while he is in the tunnels making his way out, he is stopped by like 10 queen's fangs. So the female personal guard of the queen, and they force him into what was his brood cave when he was a baby. Just to rub salt in the fucking wound. Zervashi is in there, and she is again all rapey and really gross. Yeah. She corners him. She's like touching him without his consent. She puts her hand on his crotch. He is just angry, and there's nothing he can do about it because she's so much bigger than him. He would die if he tried to fight her. She eventually like lifts him up by the throat on the wall and tells him that she expects him to be at the high claiming, which is some kind of contest to be her husband. And if he's not there, she'll start killing the people he loves. Basically, he's like, you can't threaten me, I'm not afraid to die. And she's like, you're not afraid to die, but you have people you like. You're probably afraid that they die. It's the whole thing is just awful. I just hate people like this who use their power to try and gain sexual advantage. It's so gross. Eventually she throws him bodily out of that cave, and he leaves and goes back to Ivy. Back at the nest, Ivy is sort of contemplating where she came from and where she is going and how she ended up here. But she recognizes that she is in a whole new place, and this place is hard. She's struggling every day just to survive here, but also she has Ketahn, and she knows that she's safe with him, and she is happy here because he cares about her, and she has never felt more secure, even though she's on an alien planet with a giant spider.
Yeah, think the three most influential adult figures in her life. Yeah, her parents, and then that groomer,
and then her boyfriend.
Right, yeah. Like all those. Imagine being on an alien planet with a 7-foot tall spider and being, yeah, no, I'm in the right place.
Yeah, I'm better off here.
I'm better off here than on Earth.
Yeah, exactly. So Ketahn comes home. He is extra happy to see her. He holds her, like she can tell that he's not okay, that there's like he's emotionally wrought, but he pets her hair and he starts to calm down. She asks if everything is okay, if anything is wrong, and he says everything but this. It's so sweet.
All right, Ketahn.
I know, right? She offers to listen to him if he wants to talk, but he says that just being with her is making him feel better. And his body language is very clear that he does feel better now that he's just home with her. 2 days later, while bathing, Ivy climbs onto Ketahn's back while naked. Like she's long ago given up on keeping her clothes on around him because she only has one set of pajamas that she was in her cryo chamber. So and he has no concept of nudity. He doesn't wear clothes. So she climbs on his back while naked to like oil his back for him because he like lotions his whole body with like fancy oil. It's interesting. It was a weird scene, but it gets kind of horny because she's like crawling up his back with like just her bare pussy on his back, and I was like, what is happening? What is happening?
Same question.
Yeah,
same question. What is happening?
They talk while they do this. They talk about his relationship status. She wants to know if he's got anyone, and he tells her no, there is no one in Takaral that he wants to be his. Nylea is the female version of mate, wife, I guess, but that the queen wants him to mate her, and he won't do it. And she's like, well, good luck with that, buddy, because she's the one that hurt him. and he couldn't protect himself. It's like a whole thing. But then they just start chatting about other stuff, trying to distract themselves. And this eventually ends with them having a really funny conversation about how they have to speak English because Ivy can't use a lot of his sounds. And every time she tries to say the word dirt in his language, she says the word cock.
Oops.
I just thought it was funny. I love language stuff like that. It's really entertaining. She wonders about the other colonists on the ship and whether she's the only one that's left. She asks him where he found her, and he tells her in a dark hole full of spirits. She asks to go back, and he refuses. He says it's too dangerous. He almost died just getting there the first time. He can't risk taking her there and her getting hurt. And if there are more colonists, that is more mouths to feed, and he will have to keep them all secret as well. He won't be able to take care of them all. They will all suffer. She's pissed, and they argue about it, but ultimately she doesn't have any power in this situation. She eventually stomps off into the forest. She finds like a patch of mushrooms that she's going to pick just to be useful, to prove that she's not completely useless, I think is more the vibe of her feelings in that moment. And then she is attacked in the woods by an animal that's described as like a tiger, except it's covered in scales. She is injured with a claw swipe to her calf. Once again, a calf injury.
Ouch.
Sounds just awful. Ketahn arrives and fights it to the death. It is a super cool fight. He's a very talented warrior. He uses he makes his webbing and he pulls it out and he uses it to like muzzle the animal so that it can't bite him. And then eventually he like guts the thing. And they take it home because they don't waste meat here.
No.
Oh no, he rips its throat out with his mandibles. That makes way more sense. He rips its throat out. He takes Ivy back to the stream he washes the blood off of himself. He washes and cleans her wounds and wraps them in spare silk that he's got. All of their fabric is silk. Not surprising.
Yeah.
They make their own fabric.
I was going to say, just poop it right out.
Yeah, they just make it with their own butt rope. She apologizes to him and says she was just trying to be useful, but she keeps making mistakes. And he says what is the equivalent of like you have to walk before you can run. He says you have to learn to weave, or you have to learn to make a web before you can learn to weave. Which is something that his mother taught him. He basically tells her, I've seen you, you're getting better. It's going to take more time. But even I was a weaver before I was conscripted into the war. I had to learn to survive out here. I used to be shitty at it too. Everybody takes time. You'll get there. It was a really lovely scene. He washes her gently, and then there's like more exploratory touching. Her nipples harden and he touches them and she makes a sound, and then he thinks he's caused her pain, and then she has to have the very awkward conversation where she explains that that's an erogenous zone and that he's turning her on. He finishes very quickly. He's like, okay, we gotta go. I can't. No, we can't do this. I gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. A few days later, Ketahn now is totally in love with Ivy, but he doesn't have the words to explain all of that. His sister comes for a quick visit to the den, but she doesn't come inside. He tells Ivy to stay hidden, but she peeks out through the cloth and like watches. And his sister is there basically to plead with him to take the queen's deal and mate the queen, because otherwise he'll get hurt and people he loves will get hurt. And if he can put aside the problems he has with the queen, she is very strong and powerful, and she keeps Takaral safe. And he's like, no, she fucking doesn't.
Yeah.
She made us go to war over dye ingredients. Who the fuck? Why in the world would you think she's a good queen? Anyway, eventually his sister leaves. He goes back to the den. Ivy very briefly is jealous. She thinks that she's watching him talk to a female, but she's not sure because she can't really tell the difference between the two. But then he's like, that's my brood sister. That's like, we were born of the same parents in the same egg batch or whatever. And she's like, oh, that's your sister. Okay, never mind. Cool. That's fine. They talk. And eventually the conclusion of this conversation is that they are both the happiest that they have ever been together. So
good.
sweet. Ketahn then takes Ivy to his favorite place, which is like this beautiful waterfall. And he does that thing where she says, "It's so beautiful." And he says, "Yeah, it is." But he's looking at her. I love shit like that. I just love it. They talk about her home life. They talk about her betrayal. They talk about how she always wanted to wear a wedding dress and get married, but that's just never going to happen for her. And then she has to explain to him what all of that means, because he has no idea what a dress is, what a wedding is. He has no fucking clue. A few days later, Ketahn is in Takaral using a friend's equipment to make Ivy a dress.
Thank God. I was like, you guys have silk in your butts. Make
this woman some clothes.
Silk jammies or something, man.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have the concept of clothing really until she explained to him even what a dress was. The queen wears like silk draped over her, but it's not the same as clothing. Before he can leave with the finished dress, though, the queen comes to find him and does the same gross shit she's been doing the whole time, and tells him she expects him to be at the high claiming, and if he's not there, shit's going to get real fast. She rips the dress in the process. She doesn't know what she's ripping. Obviously, she has no concept of a dress either.
You have it. I want to rip it.
Yeah. And eventually she does leave. He is so fucking angry at her because she ripped the dress, but he manages to fix it. When he returns home, he gives Ivy the dress. It fits perfect. She absolutely loves it. But he's acting like really weird and talking about a smell that's driving him crazy. Ivy is ovulating.
Oh boy.
What does my face tell you right now about how I feel about that? Oh my God.
Lots of stuff, none of it good.
It's another one of my like little peccadillos. I can't take it. Like, oh, she's ovulating. That makes him extra horny because she smells extra good. I don't know. It drives me nuts. So he's like behind her and like touching her and caressing her, and she feels something poke her in the ass, and she darts away from him, and she turns around and she sees Ketahn's dick. So pause for a weird dick. Ketahn's dick is like, it's tapered. It's like pointy.
Yeah.
And it has like a really long slit in it. Instead of having a little hole, it has like a big long slit in it. And it, like I said, lives inside of his body, and it only comes out when he lets it out. And he has these two little guys, these two little appendages that live on his hips called his claspers, that come up and hold on to her hips. Wow. Yeah.
No. Don't like it.
And it's also self-lubricating and perpetually moist.
It's gotta be. Gotta be.
So, like, as soon as she sees it, she's like, that's it. That's what I've been craving this entire time. I was like, what? What? Yeah, she sees the dick and she's like, I need it. These people are so horny. So horny. So it's on.
Yeah.
It's on. So when Ketahn's people mate, a female has to be conquered, bound, and suspended. So do you understand anything about shibari?
No, I was going to make a CBS joke. But fuck that. Let's go with shibari.
Yeah. So shibari is an artistic, erotic rope tying technique.
Okay.
So he ties her up in a shibari style binding with her legs like up and back and her arms above her head, and like straps of webbing around her torso and like holding up her titties. I'm sure it looked great. Shibari is very beautiful. If you ever look it up, it's gorgeous to look at, people like suspended in these intricate ropes and stuff. But so they get through all of that. She's like, there's a check-in at this point. She's cool with it. She just didn't know what was happening. He's like, no, this is the part where I fuck you. Like this is what we do.
Yeah.
We have to tie the female up because she's aggressive and dangerous.
I have to conquer you. Just fight back a little bit.
Yeah. So then there's like just so much pussy licking. Just so much. he's down there for a really long time. A couple of orgasms later, then he starts fucking her, and it's very rough. It's aggressive. Yeah, it's just like a warrior race. When eventually what happens is he sort of like he puts his two front legs on the wall and leans back so that he's like bouncing her on top of him. And it's creative anatomy again. There's because of the way his body is shaped, he can do some interesting stuff. When he eventually comes, more weird dick stuff, she feels something like fluttering inside of her. Whatever that slit is, I don't know. We haven't gotten to that. It's not in this book. Whatever that slit is, I think there's something in there that comes out and like flutters around. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I know what I signed up for.
She comes again from that, since the vibrating, fluttering sensation, so hard that she like sees white, and eventually she passes out. In the afterglow, as they are coming down, Ketahn declares that Ivy is his heartsthread, his mate. He's in this forever with her. The next morning, Ivy is sort of freaking out about everything that just happened because she fucked an alien spider. She briefly
with
thinks,
no pullout game.
Yeah, right. She really thinks that this could maybe be like a one-time thing, but Ketahn's like, no, we're forever, baby. You and me, we got married. And then he fucks her again, telling her that she is his and he is hers, etc. She, like I said, kind of rides him. He does that. Yeah. He tips back again. Interesting positions because the guy's got extra legs.
Well, and he's really got to be the one taking her down. She can't take him down
because of his anatomy. Yeah. When they finish, Ivy can't deny that she is in love with this alien spider sex god anymore. So they are forever. They are Nylea and Luvine, husband and wife.
I really feel like you got to lead with that. You can't trick somebody. Like, on my planet, after you fuck, you're married. Haha.
Yeah. How do you have that conversation? I mean,
I don't know how, but you do it before you have sex.
Yeah. Do you assume that on their planet they don't do that? I mean, that would be it would be normal for Ketahn and not normal for Ivy.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, but. Again, I mean, he understands she's sentient. He's already learned so much shit that he did not know.
Yeah.
He seems like a pretty sharp fella. You'd just be like, hey, on your planet,
when you have sex, are you forever?
God, no. Sometimes we're for that moment. We call those a one-night stand.
Yeah. I don't think they have a one-night stands in Ketahn's world, but what do I know? A few days later, at the waterfall again, Ivy teaches Ketahn about kissing, and they have sex in this beautiful place. This big emotional sex, big feelings sex. Lots of like thoughts of forever and devotion and sweet treacly feelings. You know. Mm-hmm. Ketahn has officially skipped the high claiming. He did not go at all.
Oh boy.
And he decides after all of this that Ivy deserves a chance to go back to her ship. So he takes her down into the pit, into the Somnium. Most of it is destroyed and non-functional. Most of the colonists are dead in their pods. Some of them seem to have been trapped in there and strangled. Like there's claw marks, like they tried to get out. Ivy is quite horrified by all of that, but there's nothing she can do about it now. She finds a working computer and learns that it is June 23rd, 2284.
Oh, wow.
To answer your question. They launched on May 10th, 2116.
Okay, so about 170 years.
She has been in stasis for 168 years. 107 years longer than the intended mission to Zolea. Navigation data is corrupted, locations unknown, no rescue effort will be made. So they're stuck there. There are 4 men and 3 women still in stasis pods and alive. Ivy argues that they should wake them up. Ketahn argues that they'll just die in the jungle if they do. At least if they die here, they'll die asleep, and they'll never know.
Yeah. We can't get these all adopted.
Yeah, right? Who's going to want all these ugly humans?
Right.
Before they can argue any further, they realize that they are not alone. Durax, the Prime Claw, has followed them down here and to command that that Ketahn return to the Queen because he didn't come to high claiming, and now the Queen's pissed. And Durax is pissed that he has to be there basically fetching the Queen's
I was just going to say.
Preferred boy toy. When Ketahn refuses to go, Durax threatens Ivy and Ketahn snaps. That's it. They fight. It's a short but incredibly brutal fight that ultimately ends with Ketahn ripping Durax's arm off with his mandibles. And then when Durax runs, because like I said, he's a coward, Ketahn throws a spear at him and hits him in the spine and paralyzes him and then just strangles him for way longer than he needs to. Like, the guy was dead for a while.
And then he went and picked up that arm and just started beating him
bashing him over the head with it, right? So Ketahn kills Durax. Ivy is safe, but then he's like, oh fuck, I just killed the Prime Claw. Like, I just brought something really bad down on our heads.
Now I'm the Prime Claw.
This is bad. This is really bad. And that's the end of the book. The second book is called Enthralled, and the story picks up from there.
But boy howdy.
There are 3 books in this collection. The third one is called Bound. Ultimately, I know at the end of all of this, Zervashi is dead. That's all I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking kill the corrupt queen. I don't care how you do it. But this otherwise was a great book. I don't know if you enjoyed hearing about it, but I really enjoyed reading it. It was interesting, and it was a beautiful love story between a woman and a giant 7-foot spider centaur man.
Oh, no. I'm not particular. I mean, I'm not a fan of spiders. I'm not. I have a friend who is especially, my friend Jack, who's especially arachnophobic.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan, but I mean, for me, the idea of a human fucking anything that doesn't look at least humanoid,
mm-hmm.
That's a bridge too far. So it's just weird.
Yeah.
For me personally, if this is what you listener, if this is what you're into, more fucking power to you. But I'm not going to listen to you talk about it because I'm not married to you.
Well, in his defense, he is slightly humanoid. He has a face.
Yeah.
And like a body.
He needs to be more. My cat has a body. She doesn't look like a human. Look at her.
Yeah, I know. Hi, Bonnie. Love you, baby.
But no, that was, again, I trust you implicitly. I know you would have, you're not just being effusive in your praise to be effusive in your praise. So I trust that this book was very, very good. And obviously, given the format of this podcast, we're not going to be able to give you the entirety of the book. And that's the point. It's an amuse-bouche. You're supposed to go out and want to buy it and read it.
Yes, absolutely. Like I'm going to tell you the whole story of the book. Like you'll get the gist of it. Yeah. But if you want to really get into this book, I recommend it. It's super duper good. It's got some of my favorite stuff in it. Like I said, it's got that learning to communicate trope, some of the sci-fi stuff, like this person is clearly speaking English, but the person receiving that information doesn't understand English, so you get to like play puzzle solver with the weird sentences and stuff. The lovely love story, what sounds like is going to be a great story about taking down a corrupt government, which hell yeah, we
always
love that.
Yeah.
Viva la resistance, the Vrix resistance. And I thought it was great, and I thought Ketahn was a really interesting, like, physical specimen in terms of like big black and purple alien man spider thing. I liked him. He was fun, and he's a sweet cinnamon roll baby. So like, yeah, he can kill you with his mandibles, but also he does this thing where he learns how to smile for her because he doesn't have lips, so he doesn't know how to smile. So he has to figure out how to smile. So he lifts his mandibles up for her, and then whenever he goes back to the colony, he has to remember not to do it because nobody else there will understand what the fuck he's doing.
Okay, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
You can find us on social media. We are on TikTok and Instagram at Cheap Smut, and we're doing more content. Come view our content. I figured out audiograms. It's exciting.
Good for you.
If you want to send us an email, you can do that, cheapsmutpod@gmail.com. Shout out to listener Jim for our first email.
Hi, Jim.
Thank you so much for the kind email, listener Jim. The song that you hear in this and every episode, the music that you hear in this and every episode, is called Nostalgia by Mackay Beats. You can find it along with thousands of other songs free of charge for you to use in basically anything at the Free Music Archive, which is freemusicarchive.org. Have we decided what we're going to do next week?
Yes, we have. Next week, I am reading a book called Pump Fake by Fiona Davenport.
Oh boy.
It's a football romance.
American football.
American football, yes. It's American football romance novella, and it should be a hell of a good time. In the meantime, listener, if there is a book in you, write it. And if there's fucking in it, I'll read it.
And then she'll come on this show and explain it to me for your entertainment.
Now, goodbye.
Bye-bye.